Welcome back, and Merry Christmas.
Good to be with you, Benny. Yeah, you too. You too, Benny.
So, you had the Secretary of, the acting Director of the Secret Service, sitting there screaming his brains out over what I watched the entire 20-minute line of questioning. It seems like a very rational line of questioning. You weren't where you're supposed to be. This isn't where This isn't where the special agent in charge stands. And he got so angry about being called out on it. It seems utterly disqualifying for this position. Your take on that?
Well, yeah, but and you couple all that. You couple his reaction with the how the Secret Service failed to handle protecting President Trump there in Butler, Pennsylvania, and then remember what happened in the aftermath of that. Right afterwards, there was questions, and the Secret Service then, Ms. Cheadle said, well, there was, the spokesperson for the Secret Service said, there was never a time where we didn't give the resources to President Trump that his security detail requested. And then 5 days later, they said, well, actually, there were times where he requested things that we didn't grant that request. So they lied to us. Not only didn't get the job done there in Butler, Pennsylvania, and anyone, you don't have to be in law enforcement to recognize that, but they lied to us about what took place prior to that when his detail was asking for more resource and didn't give it. So you got that as the backdrop. And then you have his reaction here from our colleague, Congressman Fallon's questions. Again, I think it just shows why we need someone probably better there running that important, critically important organization.
Would you be in favor of a? Would you vote in favor of a Dan Bongino for that role?
Well, I don't get a vote, but I think Dan would be great. I really do.
You get a vote. You're Jim Jordan. We know you get a vote, right?
So. This would be something that I assume does the Secret Service, does that go to? I don't know if that goes in front of the Senate or not. It's like certain heads do, of course. Mm-hmm. So obviously, certain cabinet positions. Some don't, some do. But I think he'd be great.
Yeah, I think Bongino would be. I think it'd be an antibody reaction to the system, and I think there'd be so much disruption by just the pick itself that you would have the bad actors self-deport. Now, this is something that Dan Scavino posted about yesterday. He was saying that little birdies tell him that they are entrenching Biden people inside of the Secret Service, which seems like very scary to me. I have been looking through for more reporting on that, and it seems like something that's happening across the federal government right now, where massive contracts are being signed, where enormous amounts of money is being spent and wasted, and there's been a lot of bureaucrats trying to entrench and protect themselves. How do we uproot that system, since that's clearly not what the American people want or voted for?
Well, you do exactly what President Trump's doing. You nominate people who are going to head these agencies who come from the fundamental perspective that says the agencies serve the taxpayer. They serve the commander in chief, the president, because he's head of the executive branch. They're not supposed to be weaponized against we the people. So, I mean, that is why I'm so encouraged by what the people said on Election Day. I think they voted for a whole new attitude about our government. And then President Trump, of course, is putting people forward who represent that attitude. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, she's with us on FISA reform. I want her to get confirmed. RFK Jr. is with us on protecting liberty and freedoms. Dan Bongino at the Secret Service would be with us on the change that needed to take place there and the focus of the mission of that critical agency. So all these people, like Kash Patel at the FBI, but for Kash Patel, Benny, you know this. We don't learn that the Clinton campaign paid the law firm Perkins Coie, who hired Fusion GPS, who hired a foreigner, Christopher Steele, who put together a fake document, false document that became the basis to go spy on a presidential campaign. We don't know that, but for Devin Nunes and Kash Patel, when Devin was chairman and Kash was working as a top staffer for Chairman Nunes on that committee. And that allowed us then to go talk about what was going on there and expose how ridiculous this was. So it's all about having the right people in these key positions and the attitude they bring to that respective agency.
How much easier would your job be, oversight, if Kash Patel was in charge of the FBI?
We did 1,000 letters this Congress, over 100 subpoenas. I probably did more subpoenas than the rest of Congress combined. And I don't necessarily like doing subpoenas. We're just trying to get the information, the facts, so we can do our job that the Constitution requires, which is oversight of the executive branch. It's a lot nicer when you can call up Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and say, hey, what happened here? Can you get it? That is so much better than having to go through this fight with subpoenas and letters back and forth so you establish the record in case you have to go to court, and on it goes. It is so much better when you got someone there who shares the perspective that we're supposed to be protecting American liberty in the FBI as an example, and going after bad guys, not this political nature that we've seen from the Biden-Harris administration.
You are going after some bad guys. You don't have to say it like that. We certainly will. You've made news this week. Jim Jordan gives Fani Willis a deadline to hand over documents in Trump investigation probe. This is the last remaining bit of lawfare. Breaking news at time of show, Mr. Chairman, is that John Fetterman is now saying, dump all Trump lawfare. It was all politicized. So a pretty remarkable sea change. It must be great to have been right, because you've been banging your fist on the table till it breaks, saying this for years. And man, now it seems like Big Fanny's over a barrel.
Well, there was a FOIA request where the court said that she had to turn over information. We've been asking for that information. We think we should get the same information that the judge said that they needed to deal with there. But I think it's interesting that you have Senator Fetterman saying what he's saying. On these 4 cases, which we knew were political, we knew they were lawfare. Fani Willis, Alvin Bragg, and of course Jack Smith, and they're going away. Thank goodness. Certainly Jack Smith's going away. And I think it's interesting because they were told all along, oh no, this was legit from the Democrats, and the Democrats also told us that our impeachment is ridiculous. But if it was ridiculous, why did Joe Biden just pardon Hunter Biden for the very things that we were inquiring about? For goodness sake. So. I guess only Democrats can argue all sides of things and do the crazy things they do.
We've never seen a president pardon people who haven't been charged with a crime or aren't even, as far as we know, being investigated for a crime. Yet here we go with Anthony Fauci, but a number of other people, a list that may extend into the hundreds, if not thousands, if reporting is to be believed. What does this tell you, Mr. Chairman?
I think remember, they criticized because supposedly, and I don't know that they did this, but supposedly there were some of our colleagues who asked for pardons. I don't think they necessarily did, but the Democrats went crazy, and there weren't any pardons granted there. But now they're asking for Liz Cheney, Fauci, and I don't know who all else. And then you look at the pardon he did on Sunday. It was for 10 years and 11 months, and it was for not just the crimes he's been charged with, but any potential crime that he may have committed clear back to 2014. January 1st, 2014 to December 1st, 2024, 10 years and 11 months, a blanket pardon, and now they're trying to do that for other folks. That just makes no. When President Trump there's never been any retribution mindset with President Trump. Did he go after Hillary Clinton after she coordinated this effort to spy on his campaign, and with Jim Comey took the fake stuff to the FISA court to get the warrant? No, he didn't. So I don't know. Again, Democrats being Democrats, I guess.
It seems just absolutely. It seems totally out of our depth. Like how anyone could see the Democrat Party as anything other than a Ponzi scheme at this point, to enrich elites and then to bail them out of prison when they do crimes. Just seems to be a mask-off moment. And Joe Biden is just exposing the system for what it is. And so much is being exposed. I don't know if you met with Doge yesterday, but I know that Elon Musk and Vivek were on the Hill. Did you?
I met with Elon before the conference, and then of course I was at most of the conference where both Mr. Musk and Mr. Ramaswamy talked to our members, and members asked questions and had a good dialogue. How
did that go? And can you give us some insights into what's going to happen next?
I thought great. I just think you step back and say, here are 2 really sharp guys, very successful guys, love this great country of ours, and want the government to actually work for we the people. And they're looking to reduce expenses, but not just save money, but help the economy by saying we don't need some of the crazy regulations we put on the entrepreneurs and job creators in our economy. And maybe just as important, they actually want the people who do work for the government to come to work. Imagine that. You got to go to work. Like so much of the government in the bureaucracy, they work remotely. It's all Zoom it in and all that stuff, I guess, and remote work. Like, What you want? Everyone knows you want to be really productive. You want to be efficient. You got to get to work. So I think those kind of three kind of thrust are what they're focused on, and I look forward to what they what the report they bring forward or the recommendations they bring forward. Us then getting a chance to implement them.
I'm not sure if this was asked yesterday, but you obviously are one of the most senior and well-known members of Congress, if not the most well-known, and you've done some of the best work. And so if you were to tell Elon and Vivek where to start, where would you start?
Well, think about this, just in a broad sense. The FBI's budget is close to $12 billion. More than half of that is devoted to intel and counter-intel. I mean, really? I mean, that seems like a lot of money for surveillance and intelligence gathering. And I understand that, after 9/11, there was sort of a change of focus. But most Americans believe the FBI is out there catching the traditional bad guys, the gangs, the organized crime, the money laundering, the stuff going on. That's what most Americans think they should be focused on. And I think there are lots of great agents who are doing that. But when you look at the budget and the personnel, more than 50% aren't devoted to what we traditionally think the FBI does. Maybe there's some changes that need to happen there that are better for the country, better for our liberties and our freedoms. This is why I'm so excited, Benny, about Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel, because they're with us when it comes to the FISA reform that needs to take place. Remember, we lost that amendment. I know I talked about it on your show. We lost that amendment to require a warrant before you can go search what I call the giant haystack of information that the government has. You're going to use Benny Johnson's name, phone number, email address to search that. Guess what? The way our Constitution works, best Constitution ever, best country ever, is you got to go to a separate and equal branch of government and get a probable cause warrant to go get information on an American citizen. And that we lost that vote 212. It was one of the things we were pushing for. So I know Tulsi and Kash are with us on that kind of reform that I think needs to happen to protect liberty. So that's where I think we got to focus as well.
We had an FBI whistleblower on the show earlier saying that they've opened a counter-intel operation on Kash Patel, and that the FBI is going, at least the leadership of the FBI is going to try and do everything in their power to prevent Kash Patel from getting confirmed. Now it's the Senate who will vote to confirm. What's your message to senators that may not, may be squishy on him or Hegseth? And more importantly, how sick is it that the FBI would be actively operating against the will of the president, president-elect, and the will of 77 million Americans?
Well, remember, we saw this in 2017. Remember when Sally Yates criticized the president's decision when it came to his ban on people coming from certain countries? He had the number 3, I think she was number 3 at Justice. I mean, like, what? That's not how this thing operates. So, that's troubling. I would go back to what I said before. We would not have learned. Kash Patel wrote the memo that from Chairman Nunes. Kash Patel put that together, which described what took place in 2016 with the Comey FBI when they went to the FISA court with false information. Kevin Kleinsmith, who changed an email to go back to the FISA court, found guilty of changing an email to get something done at the court. But for Kash Patel and the good work that Devin did as chairman, we don't learn that. That was critical information that it's good the country got that information. Kash Patel was the key figure in there. I want him to be the next director of the FBI.
Excellent. I love it. Our question up for the audience, and we'll close with this. What's your first D class that you asked from Kash? We know that you know him very well. We know that you're probably going to be the first guy that gets a meeting at the FBI. You're going to be the first guy to walk in the office with Kash. You sit down with him. You both light a cigar, and what's the first thing you ask for declassification?
Well, I mean, think about it. We had a Justice Department that said moms and dads at school board meetings need to be investigated. I want to know all about that. Anything we're missing on that one? We had a memorandum at the Richmond field office that said if you're a pro-life Catholic, you're an extremist, you need to be investigated. I want to know how that happened. And then, frankly, I would like to ask, and this, my guess is your viewers and listeners and your audience would like to know, who planted the pipe bombs on January 6th? Why don't we know that? Who leaked the Dobbs opinion? And who put cocaine at the White House? Why don't we know those things? Those are just kind of common things that you'd think we would have figured out by now. So, I mean, those are just a few off the top of my head.
Off the top of your head. Okay, who's got DNA? They found the DNA on the cocaine and then they destroy it. right? It really is remarkable. What's the poll at here? What's the poll at? We have released the Diddy list, released the Epstein list, released the JFK file. The Epstein list is winning pretty significantly right now, Congressman. So the listeners, the viewers want the Epstein list first. So
I mean, I totally understand that coming from your viewers. I kind of focused on the things that we deal with here in Congress so much. So that's why I went with those 4 or 5, whatever I rattled off there.
That's right. Man, you release the Epstein list, there's going to be some packed flights out of the country. There already are. From some of Joe Biden's best donors. It's funny how that works. Somebody who the only list you'll find him on is the most effective members of Congress in the country, and also the list of national champions in collegiate wrestling. The great Jim Jordan, who's here. I really hope that we get to go to a national championship this year, Congressman.
It's in
Philly this year.
It's in Philly this year.
It's in Philly, okay.
Big Tens are back in
Evanston.
Oh, yeah, they're back in Northwestern. Yeah.
That's right.
The Big Ten tournament's great, just like the NCAA tournament.
That would be fun, man.
We gotta get the president back to the NCAA tournament finals. He was such a big hit when he went a couple years ago, and it was interesting. He stayed for all 10 matches, all 10 finals. Benny, really? I think we probably talked about this, and every single champion came over and shook his hand after their match was done. The wrestling community, as you know, I tell McCormick this. McCormick won that Senate race. Great guy. We campaigned with him. Dave's going to be a great senator. He won that race by 17,000 votes. And I think it was the wrestling. You know how strong Pennsylvania high school wrestling is.
Yes.
And wrestling people are so pro-Trump, so Republican, kind of conservative, working class, middle class people. I think it was the wrestling community that actually, in the end, pulled it out for McCormick because he won with such a tight margin. And we campaigned. We stopped at a few wrestling places along Lehigh and Pitt Johnstown, different places. So it's kind of funny how the wrestling world is involved in politics now.
In wrestling world, sort of like it sort of crosses over with UFC world.
Yeah, totally.
Like fighting and champion, where we got some photos here. You were here? Were you here? Are we gonna find some pictures of you there?
No, I wasn't at the last UFC fight.
This is. I'm not sure if you can see the screen. This is the NCAA. This is the NCAA's.
I've been to several. I haven't been to the last few, but
okay. I see Mark Wayne Mullen.
Yeah, that was one.
Trump.
That was one in Tulsa when he went with Senator with Mark Wayne. And this year it's going to be in Philly, and then next year, 26 is going to be in Cleveland. Be back in Ohio.
That's great. Look at these young. Look at these young wrestlers. I mean, we're showing every single young national champion taking a selfie, running over to meet Trump. It's so awesome.
Yeah,
it's so amazing. It's champion culture. Bro, when Penn State wrestling, it hurts my little soul to say it.
I know you're a Hawkeye
because my Hawkeyes
fan.
didn't do it. Hawkeyes should have done
They're
it. What's
good,
wrong
though.
with you?
Penn State's good. Michigan's tough. Iowa's tough again. Iowa State, Ohio State's tough. Some the Big Ten, is good. But Tom and Terry are doing a great job. But Penn State, I don't know if anyone's going to beat them again this year.
Dude, and they all came up on stage and they endorsed him. I said, that's it. Call Pennsylvania. That's it. On our election night coverage, I showed the photo and I said Trump's going to win Pennsylvania. It was one of the first photos I shot.
Isn't that funny?
Because of Penn State wrestling.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. And this is a man who knows. Please go follow Jim Jordan. He's got millions and millions and millions of followers, but man, he's got his work cut out for him. Here we go. Almost 6 million followers. You have twice as many followers as we do, Congressman. Goodness, we should be going on your show. And to end here, here's the photo of Trump with the entire Penn State wrestling behind him.
Yeah,
if you don't mind, Killer Clown, there it is, right there. You have no idea how. If you know, you know. If you're from wrestling country, and this was in Pennsylvania, very close to Happy Valley. You realize how powerful this is, because this is what real men do during the winter. Watch wrestling. All right, thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great week. Take care.
All right, Merry Christmas.